Good evening. This is the Town of New Canaan Police Commission regular meeting of January 15th, 2025. It's 6 p.m. Opening the meeting will be with the minutes from the previous meeting, December 18th. Any additions or corrections?
Just a typographical.
Okay.
We're at the bottom of page 1. The last line, it says should say affirm day.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Another from.
Yeah.
Any other? I didn't see anything else.
No, I didn't see.
Okay, motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Second item on our topics for discussion is election of police commission officers. This is our annual vote.
Okay. So that's my cue.
Yeah, UQ. The
Yeah.
first selectman is here for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening.
And thank you everyone for their service the last year. You guys have big jobs, so thank you for all you're doing for New Canaan and our police force. So thank you. So I guess the way we do this is if I could take nominations for the office of chair.
I nominate Paul Foley for chair.
Oh, yeah, Mike.
Oh, I
And yours
nominate
too.
Paul Foley for chair.
Do I have a second? A second. Okay, great. Any other nominations for chair? Seeing none. All those in favor of Paul Foley for chair?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then if I could get a nomination for secretary.
Nomination for Secretary of Education, Bennett.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. Any other nominations for the office of secretary on this very large board? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of Chicago Bennett for secretary?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you very
All right.
Well done, Deanna.
All right, item B is the approval of uniform and clothing invoices and reimbursements. And I'm sure you've all seen those.
Yeah.
Any questions on those? Actually, some credits in there, which I'd like to see.
Yeah.
All right, a motion to approve them.
So move.
MS. And we'll call them the packet for January 15th, Jennifer, if that's okay. All right. Second,
I second.
all those in favor? Aye.
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 Budget update, Chief.
So I'll be presenting the budget to the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday. So, and you should have in your packet the finalized proposed numbers for FY26. Let's start with capital, if that's okay.
Actually, I don't
They
have
have
that.
I emailed it to everybody. It was in a separate
probably in a
email.
separate email.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
it gets,
I've got the numbers you sent us several days ago.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You starting with the capital budget?
Yes.
Mhm.
So the capital ask this year will be 359,100. That will include 3 new vehicles. We're back on our regular cycle for vehicles.
okay. So
We had a,
you have an extra copy?
Not with me.
okay, let me check this, kind of go from memory.
Okay. Yeah,
We had a couple years where we got back orders, and then last year we only needed 1 vehicle. We're actually going to get 2 used vehicles for our animal control and I think a training vehicle, but it's going to come out of that one cost. So this year we're back on our regular cycle of getting 3 cars this year. We'll do 4 next year, and that keeps our fleet current, and that's the best cycle. We'll obviously readjust as we need to each year from year to year, but that's going to suit us best.
Our cycle is, my recollection is we normally have a regular cycle so that we buy, is it 2 or 3 per year?
Right, that's what I'm saying, 3, and then
So
this
I
year's,
didn't quite, maybe I didn't get it. Why does it jump from 52,000 to 213? Am I reading this wrong?
last year was 1 vehicle, You're looking at last year was 52,
Comparing.
and this
to-
year's 3 vehicles, plus
Was it just
outfitting.
because it fell, the timing fell oddly, or?
Yeah, because we had a number before that.
Because the year before that, we were delayed on delivery. We ended up getting,
So it's just a timing.
yeah, so the 2 years ago, we actually received 7 new cars last year. So that means last year we didn't need
Okay.
3 new cars. So now we're back in our regular rotation
Regular
of cycling out our older cars. We move our primary cars to our secondary fleet, and then we take cars out of our secondary fleet. We filter them out to other departments in town, or we trade them in. So we get as much as we can out of the vehicles, but this is, that's
How many miles do we get on the vehicles usually?
generally for patrol vehicles, 80 to 90, 80 to 100 seems to be the best practice. Because once you get beyond that, using them 24/7, things start to break down rapidly and it becomes not cost effective. So once they get that kind of mileage, we'll cycle them to a secondary role, either with an SRO at the schools, because we want to have a marked car in front of the schools, or a side job vehicle, or a training vehicle. But then once those are used up and met our useful life for us,
Right.
we'll see if any other departments in town need the vehicle, or we'll trade them in. It's
Can we
generally-
change the marking so it's a little more visible?
Yes, yeah. So with the last 2 rounds, we brightened up the lettering on the cars. We kept the black cars, but they're a light gray decals on the cars, so they're more visible. I still don't want to go to the black and white because it's just too cost prohibitive, and it adds another couple weeks
Why is
to
it
it.
cost prohibitive?
Because they don't come from the factory that way.
Yeah.
So you have to send them out to get painted. So it adds cost.
The
And
factory provides them with the gray color, but not the white?
no, we buy the car from the factory. They're just black. The lettering
Right.
we do at our upfitter. But
Right.
to make it a black and white car, meaning the front, the
Oh, the
doors,
whole vehicle.
the whole vehicle,
No, I mean the letter.
the lettering we do from the upfitter, and that's a light gray, reflective light gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes people always realize these cars are running all the time. So
No.
even though it's 80,000 miles, you think, well, I can get 200,000 on my car.
Micro.
But
I'm just nodding my head.
yeah. But with the engines running so
Right.
often, and they're going from, can run basically 24 hours a day.
Right.
So,
Additionally, you'll see on there's a 60,000 earmark for our new duty firearms. We began that process last year with purchasing 10. We're going to complete the purchase for the remaining duty firearms for the rest of the department. We're due the current ones we've had. We've actually had this current duty firearm for 20 years, these ones for 10, and that's usually the useful life. The ones we're getting this year are better quality, new technology, much better suited for our officers. The ones we received last year, the officers are raving about them, so they're going to increase our skills, increase our proficiency in firearm training. We've already seen a marked improvement from the people that I have it, so we're looking forward to that. But with that, there's going to come some additional train up with it and some costs, but that's part of the capital ask. And there's going to be some you'll see in the on the operating side for the increased in training involved with that, but it's going to be well worth it. And everything else in capital is pretty much standard: taser replacements, defibrillators, those sorts of things, contracts with our IT vendors, the license plate reader vendors, the annual contracts. So those are just routine things that we see from year to year.
right. Were there other cameras around town?
Those are part of
That's a
the
different
future
budget.
bill. That's not part of the capital budget. Those were purchased on a grant.
Yep.
So you'll see those show up later on in the future in the 5-year plan.
Yep.
on what those costs will be. We're hoping to get additional grant funding to cover the licensing and the fees associated with those in future years. But I do have those marked out.
Yep.
In the 5-year plan.
Any other questions?
On the operating side, just
Yep.
quick, animal control, real quick, has gone down, minus 1.81. We've reduced that budget a little bit. That's because some of the salaries have leveled out. Previous years, we were training up the new animal control officer, and if you remember, they combined a couple of animal control was in 2 separate budgets, so now it's in 1 budget. So that's stabilized, and you're seeing a decrease in that side of the budget. In our overall operating budget, we're looking at an increase of 4.28. Largely, that's due to contractual obligations. Salaries have gone up, and overtime continues to drive a good portion of our budget. We're still seeing an increase in those numbers. We are trying to get them under control. We are looking, we're getting into contract negotiation season. So we're working with the first selectman in the HR department to try to come up with some strategies to help us out there. But, the big drivers are shift shortages and shift vacancies that are driving those overtime numbers. But you see the overtime numbers, I tried to keep everything consistent with the contract. 2.5% raises is what the contract dictates. So you'll see those increases there. You'll probably also notice some lines that have larger increases as far as percentage. That's due to the fact that we met with the finance department earlier in December, and we went through all of our line items, and some of them didn't make sense to have so many different line items. So we combined some of them. So that's why you'll see in some instances where a 50% increase or 116% increase. That's just because those were accepting other lines and we were deleting other areas. So it's a net balance of 0 for those combinations.
There's a substantial reduction in salary overtime. 23 was over 400, last year was 38, you have 295, which is a large reduction. How is that going to be actuated? How are we going to do that?
No, it's 295 and went up to 3025. It's not a reduction. I think you're looking at the year to date, maybe for 25.
I'm looking at FY25 revised.
295
290.
and FY26 is 3025. I increased it 2.5%.
The fiscal year is June 30th. So the 25 fiscal year, it ends June 30th this year, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you had a large reduction, it's like it's what I'm asking, it's good news, but how do you see that going forward, and how does that affect you? It's like a 25% reduction. More.
Where do you see the reduction? I'm not sure where you're seeing the
I'm
reduction.
looking at actual, for example, actual 2024, 430. Fiscal 25, 295. I'm looking at what I mean.
Yeah, so the actuals of 24 and 23 were way over budget.
Right.
So we're trying to reduce overtime and trying to tighten things up, but those years were very bad years. But if you look back to FY22, it was 296. So we're trying to get back to those numbers. I didn't feel comfortable asking last year for 430,000 to try to.
Right. Although year to date through November, we're get 202.
Yeah, it's.
How are we going to get to 295?
Well, overall, our budget, we'll get to our year-to-date budget, but we're around 54%.
Yeah.
used for our budget for FY '25. So we're doing better this year. We are trying to tighten things up and reduce the overtime. And with the new officers, we're at full complement, but it's, one step forward, two steps back when, we have officers that go out on long-term leave and those sorts of things, which we're experiencing now. So it's always a constant battle that we always have to try to maintain, but we're trying. We should be at that 295, 300 number and
By June 30th.
well, just annually, and there's 4 or 5 other overtime.
You'll have a very tight budget between now and June. So I guess I'm getting to that.
Yeah, and
You're at 202, and you're going to be at 295 by the end of June.
there's other areas too that you're not looking at that are also overtime areas, overtime training, overtime injury, accumulated time. So we're slightly under budget in those areas. We're ahead of schedule there. So,
It's good. I mean,
it's not great, but we're hopefully doing better this year than we have in the past couple of years.
We're starting to filter in now. The
Pretty much on us.
people,
Shakeba can't.
You guys have to put your microphones on. Shakeba can't hear.
yeah, people have come out of the academy, they spend time on the road, they're now on their own, and that's helped alleviate a lot of the overtime and filling in those spots too.
good if we can get that number
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
this. Good number.
Because we're at 50 officers right now,
We are,
but we
yes.
still have a number still in training.
Yes, they're coming off of field training and a couple are still on and those officers are still on probation. So we're
You're getting there.
working them out. They're getting there. We're getting there. But we do have, as of January 2nd, the new officers are in the elementary schools. The SROs are full-time in the elementary schools. So that was the purpose of getting our complement up to 50.
Right.
So we could fill those seats in the elementary schools, and the vacancies created by those officers going to the schools are filled by these younger officers that are presently coming off of field training.
Thank you.
But in the middle of it, there's still sort of a lag of
Sure.
time.
No, overall, it's a very good number. It's a big
Yeah.
reduction from last year and prior.
Yeah, and we try to, use a common sense approach and not have a lot of discretionary asks. There's, like I said, a lot of contractual drivers. And I am preparing our presentation to present to the boards starting Tuesday, and I'll have that completed probably tomorrow or early Friday. I'll send you as well. Yep.
Great. Okay. D, college course approval for Lieutenant Milligan. We okay with that? Motion to approve that
So
in
moved.
a second.
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then course approval for Officer Bartuli. Same thing. She's
Yeah, I'd move to approve that.
I second.
Accounting, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Thank
Did
you.
we leave off our agenda, the monthly reports?
No, it's coming up. Next page.
Okay.
Yes, that comes under item 3. We changed it around this.
Oh, we changed it. Okay.
Building renovation update. I actually went through the building today.
Yes.
Looks like we still had a contingency somewhere around 900,000 for the owners, 400,000 for Turner, so about $1.2 million, almost $1.3 million contingency. I think the first selectman is aware of the Eversource issue, hooking Eversource into getting that power. And I'm very frustrated with that. Yes. I talked with Joe Z on that today and we're on it, but we need Eversource to approve it, right? And we may need a push, as you know.
I told the committee.
I know you did, yeah.
I was happy
I'm happy to make
let
the
me
call.
know, Just let me know. I don't
Well,
wanna
make the
be-
call.
I don't want to impact, delivery, but if I can help. expedite, I will help.
Right. We don't wanna
So.
tick people off, but we do want to move it along. Okay, but yeah, it's coming along nicely. It's gonna be great. Nick, Department.
I was at a Chiefs meeting yesterday and I was informed that Westcog
Yeah.
was meeting yesterday with OPM for the regional range.
I'm going to Westcott tomorrow.
Okay, so there might be an update
There
from
is
their
not
meeting.
yet.
Yeah, so, and that's to get additional funding, hopeful of 50% additional funding
From the state,
from the state.
and then
to
we would
cover-
put in, towns participants would put in 50.
Yeah. Yeah, so that it would reduce the initial proposed cost by 50%, which would be delightful. So, there should be an update.
Great,
All right.
please, that's,
Yep.
you know how I feel on that. We just. Okay, monthly reports, chief.
First up, year-to-date budget. Like I said, we're operating right now at 54.4%, which is not bad after half of the year. We're pretty much on track, just slightly higher than 50%. And animal control is at 47.4%, which is good. Staffing report, again, this is always our big driver of overtime. December, we were at minimum shift 66% of the time, which is kind of where we kind of hover. We've had highs of up to close to 80% in summer months previously, but right now we're at 66%. That's with officers on field training, officers assigned to the schools, officers on medical leave. So it does impact the shifts, and that does drive up overtime.
Got it.
Monthly
Okay.
statistics. See the year to date is actually captures the entire year. So those, looking at those two columns, year to date of 24 versus year to date of 23, the kind of the middle column and the column far to the right.
Yeah.
Is a good comparative from year to year. Some highlights, family disputes were down. 2023, we had 83. In 2024, we're down to 49. Hopefully that's a trend that continues. Motor vehicle enforcement is trending upward, which is good to see. We're encouraging our officers to go out there and be active and highly visible.
What's motor vehicle violation BAS? I'm sure it's been there. I just never noticed it. There were 3. I don't even know what's BAS.
I think something got cut off there.
Basic,
What?
Is it school bus?
I don't know.
No, yeah.
And there's 3. There's only the 3. I don't know
I'll
what
have to
it-
check.
Yeah, I don't know
into
if that
I'm not-
was either. I just
Can't think of what that is. That might be something new.
don't know. But 3 of them this year.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I just didn't know.
School bus violations did trend downward, 138 for 23, and we're at 70 for
Wow.
24. I'm not sure if that's a lack of reporting or compliance is increasing. So we'll keep an eye on that. Certainly with our SROs at the schools, that might help reporting of those incidents that if and when they occur. I know there was a change in leadership at the bus company, so I'm not sure if that had something to do with it.
Okay.
Fortunately, stolen vehicles went from 17 in 2023 up to 40 in
Yeah.
2024. It was not a good year for vehicles. So
Tell us about that. Is that county-wide, or tell us more about that?
I don't know if communities saw a similar upward trend. I would think that they did. We're not unique in stolen vehicles, unfortunately, not in Connecticut or in the tri-state area. It's just unfortunate that people are leaving their cars unlocked with the keys in them. That's how it's happening 99% of the time. And that's just the way it is. We have a few that seem to be targeted, some people that seem to be, they were followed home because they were driving a particular vehicle. I haven't had one like that in a couple of months, but that was a little scary trend that was happening, that especially the Range Rovers were highly targeted, highly sought after vehicles. And some people were it seems as though they were followed home because they would drive home and literally be
My recollection is
emptying.
that in the past, the belief was that most of these stolen vehicles were not being stolen for their value. They were stolen and recovered sometimes just a few days later. They think they used them for another crime or to joyride. So why would they care if it's a Range Rover or?
Because there's probably two groups that we're talking about. Some of the vehicles are highly sought after and
Stolen for the value?
stolen for the value and sold on the black market overseas or in this country, wherever. But then there's a large majority that are just stolen by younger people joyriding, committing other crimes just to do it, just because they can, because it's easy, gives them street cred. So both are continuing to happen.
Do you have a rough idea how many of these vehicles are recovered that were just dumped, used short-term and dumped versus?
The higher percentage are recovered
Yeah,
in the bigger cities.
yeah.
A few of them are not, but most of them are recovered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Range Rover was wrecked inside, as I recall. They tore it apart. I
Yeah,
think a couple of people, I think it was stolen from here, went to Waterbury. Somebody from Waterbury stole it, went someplace else like
yeah,
Jersey or something.
yeah. It's not to say that all Range Rovers
Yeah,
are
that one was.
on a container to overseas, but you know, it certainly does happen, and some of them do get trashed. So it's not it's not that, you know, it's not the days where people recover their car and it's in as good a shape as when they parked it in their driveway. Sometimes they do get trashed, but also it's inviting more bold and aggressive thieves to come in during the daytime, confront people in their driveways, enter into the garages, enter into the house.
There's been more of that?
There's that's trending that way. So, you know, what once was just an overnight, hey, my car is gone in the morning, it's now becoming, hey, I'm watching somebody steal my car from my garage right now, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is very scary. So it's something that we really need to work on as a community, securing our vehicles and taking the keys inside and securing garages and locking doors. It's a kind of a holistic approach.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
it for.
Not a big increase in vandalism, is that?
That was a lot of the graffiti that occurred last year. There was several of the same markings and the same individuals doing it, but we cataloged them each as individual incidents. So that was why there was an uptick. It was that short period of time where we had a bunch of tagging going on around town, and those were all tagged as individual incidents.
Do we ever kind of figure out who that was?
I think Officer Vartuli was working on it and possibly had close to getting a suspect and something on online presence, a social media presence. But again, it's
sort of stopped.
Yeah, it's kind of stopped. It kind of moved on. So hopefully that'll stay that way.
The Perkins shoot memorandums?
Yeah, it's a little late. We did our annual qualifications back in September, and Officer Conley got the Commissioner's Award with a 398 out of 400.
Yeah.
And Officer Rienzi got a 387 out of a 400. So congratulations to those officers.
Just one other thing, Putnam Road, there was some emails that I saw, saying it's working its way through the process.
Tigers is working on,
That's the point.
that's a public works
Project
project. That's
Right.
no longer a police commission project. Tigers
on the
Got it.
case.
got consultants and.
I saw that. They're working on it.
Yes.
Got it. Anything else? I have nothing. Okay, anything else?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, well, feel
Feel
better.
better.
Thanks.
Okay, motion then to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.